Former Vancouver Canucks general manager and president Mike Gillis yesterday spoke on TSN for a long time. There was a good feature on him done. He was in the booth. They took some questions and answers, and this interview, sit-down session, whatever you want to call it, revealed a lot about things that Mike Gillis experienced as the GM of the Canucks. There was a lot of talk about 2011, John Tortorella, and a few other potential hypotheticals that could have happened in the Vancouver Canucks timeline, but didn't. Among this was a story that really did present itself through Gillis's words that goes along the lines of Shea Weber, and how the Vancouver Canucks made several offers to try to reach out and achieve Weber. First off, it was established by Gillis that they went after Weber in trade talks, and they also went after Weber for the free agency period, which we'll get to that in a second. But there was actually a caller on the TSN program that went by the name of Uncle Elite, and it was a very seemingly Indian-sounding man with a heavy Indian accent who talked to Mike Gillis and said that in order to have acquired Weber, he should have traded Raymond, Ballard, and a second. And that was Gillis's biggest mistake. Of course, the TSN guys knew about this meme because Raymond, Ballard, and a second was the meme, but it was brought up a little bit into the broadcast that, hey, Gillis, this was your mistake. You should have traded Ballard, Raymond, and a second if you wanted to get Weber. Of course, that's all joking around here, but the Vancouver Canucks were indeed apparently in trade talks for the Canadian defenseman. But the other big period that the Vancouver Canucks actually got themselves involved with, according to GM Mike Gillis's words, was the free agency period, where Shea Weber was coming off of an arbitration year. This was a year wherein he got a one-year, $7.5 million contract from the Predators that they could not walk away from because it was the outcome of the arbitration. This whole free agency, restricted free agency thing was a big mess with Shea Weber, and long story short, at the end of the 2012 season, Shea Weber was offered an offer sheet. This was an offer sheet by the Philadelphia Flyers, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. GM Mike Gillis on the Vancouver Canucks oriented broadcast talked about how they actually went over to Weber's house in Kelowna because they thought, okay, well, he's a hometown boy, this would be a great opportunity. And he talked about how Weber greeted them with open arms, talked about the process, really identified with the team, and things looked really good for the Vancouver Canucks and Shea Weber in regards to their apparent mutual agreements. But the Philadelphia Flyers came in and they were like, hey, Shea Weber, we'll sign you. $110 million, 14 years, offer sheet. And he signed it. But then the Predators were like, nah, we'll match that, and that's the reason why Weber has the contract that you see today. Don't get me wrong, though. A lot of younger fans might be thinking about Shea Weber like, oh, well, that was 2012. It's 2018 now. Weber sucks. Well, hold your horses, everybody. Back in this timeline, Shea Weber was legitimately one of the better defensemen in the league. He never won a Norris, but he finished top 3, top 2, top 5 in voting quite a bit throughout his career. And in 2014 specifically, wherein he grabbed his career high of 56 points for the Nashville Predators, this was the year of the Olympics in Russia. And Shea Weber alongside of Duncan Keith, they were two of the best defenders in the world, arguably. So with all that context in mind, how exactly would things have played out if the Vancouver Canucks got Shea freaking Weber? Well, for starters, I think the Vancouver Canucks probably would have won a game against the San Jose Sharks in the first round of the 2013 playoffs. I mean, we got swept in that series. It was pretty bad. We probably would have gotten a few games under them, wouldn't we? But going forward even into the later years, in 2014, would we have been that bad? Because that was the Tortorella year, that was the year where we finished really far back into standings and ended up drafting 6th overall. Would Shea Weber have been enough to fix that? Well, he was one of the best defenders in the league that year. He lost the Norris voting that year to Duncan Keith, who was also one of the best defenders in the world at that time. So what exactly would have things been like if he was on the Vancouver Canucks? Well, Obviously, I don't think the Canucks would have finished really far back in the standings like they did. We probably would have been a mid-tier team, maybe around the 15th overall range, maybe pushing for a wild card spot. Was it even a wild card back then? I have no idea. But I think we would have been just on the outside looking in, because that John Tortorella system that was run within our club wasn't really all too good. And Mike Gillis did talk about on the broadcast yesterday as well that he felt that Tortorella apparently didn't put in as much dedication into the job as he could have as the Vancouver Canucks head coach. So overall, things could look extraordinarily different. If Weber was on the team today, things would be kind of weird. I mean, obviously he's a really good talent as well. 42 points in 78 games for the Canadiens last season, or 2 seasons ago. Last season he was out because injuries. This season he's out again because, well, injuries. So things are a little bit different for Shea Weber now, and he's still on that terrible contract. Going over into the future, though, I think this just serves as a little reminder that Shea Weber, no matter how good or how bad he's able to be in these upcoming years, he was close to being a Canuck. If it weren't for those darn Philadelphia Flyers coming in with that huge $110 million contract. Hope you guys enjoyed this video for Plus. That's for Gaming, and bye.